Alright guys, it's NinjaGaijin, and today is episode 6, and this episode is going to all be about, how can I find a job in Japan? I really want to work in Japan, and I'm pretty sure this is the most asked question, or one of the most sought after questions related to Japan in general for individuals, living overseas. So I'm going to give you some helpful tips, suggestions. I'll have some links down below, and let's just go from there. So basically, there's numerous ways on how to come and work in Japan. The most easiest transition would be coming on what's called the JET program. The JET program is the Japanese Exchange Teaching Program. I think that's what the acronym is for. But it is the most popular program. It's through the government. Basically, the Japanese government works as an intermediary where you apply to them, you get accepted, then they find you a place, or rather, they project your applicant to different cities around Japan. If one likes it, says okay, you come on the program. But that's a short spec of them. I don't want to go too much into the steps involved in applying because it is arduous. I think I used that word correctly. I don't know. But just to give you a quick rundown, so usually you apply every year. There's application out in October, November. You fill out this huge application, lots of pages, statement of purpose, etc. In January, you find out if you pass the first stage. I want to say that probably, I don't know, this is a 100% guess, but based on the year when I applied, which was 2010, there was, I want to say almost half got past the initial screening, and then in February you have an interview. The interview is done at the nearest consulate or embassy that you reside, or where you reside. For me, I lived in Maryland, and the closest was actually the Japanese embassy. So I went to the Japanese embassy. And it was good, 20 minutes interview, 3-person panel, one person who previously went on the program, and 2 Japanese individuals. And yeah, so they asked me a lot of different questions. Told me to do a self-introduction in Japanese, did that, and then fast forward in May, found out I got accepted. Usually 1 in 4 get accepted, I want to say, or shortlisted is how they say it. And then there's some people who get waitlisted and rejected. If you get accepted or shortlisted, you have to wait a month or so for your placement. That's what happened to me. And then end of July, you come to Japan. It's a really long process, but it's the easiest transition to Japan. What I mean by that is, of course, they pay for your ticket to come to Japan. And interesting enough, actually, like back in the early 90s, they used to fly over the shortlisted jets first class. So that must have been really sweet. Unfortunately, there's no more first class, and you will be flying over just normal coach. I remember when I applied there, I heard some rumors, like people were like, oh yeah, just like go to the desk and you might be able to do like a free upgrade, or pay an extra few $100 and you can get upgraded. And I heard a lot of rumors about that, but when I actually got there, you couldn't do that. They didn't let you, and they usually want all the jets to kind of be together to begin with. So you missing is kind of look like gonna be pretty obvious, unless you're coming out of a major city that has a lot of people going, like New York City, Washington DC, Chicago, maybe California. Then maybe you can get away with it, but I don't know. So that was one of the main programs, right? They fly you over, you have like a 3-day orientation in Tokyo, etc. There's a lot of hand-holding, rather, right? I didn't really feel like I was in Japan until after the whole convention or seminar in Tokyo was over, because I was just completely surrounded by foreigners. So that's one of the main ways. There's other ways, of course, as well. The biggest private company is Interact, and they do the similar thing. They basically put you in schools, elementary, junior high school, high schools. They don't pay as well. Their working hours are usually not as good. In the summertime, they do pay reductions based on your, basically if you're not working fully. Like JETs, they usually, or sometimes rather, they're off in the summertime because the students don't have school. So, but you're still getting paid your full salary every month, the same. However, Interact employees are not, as far as I know. Usually what happens is they reduce your salary like quite substantially in the summertime. You're still off, which is great, but they also reduce your salary because they're like, well, you're not really working, so why should we pay you fully? And you know, but there are benefits to Interact as well. The main benefit being that all their placements are in urban locations. So if that's what you're after, if you want to live in the big city life, then definitely I would choose the Interact option, because JETs, by and large, are not placed in urban cities. Some of them are placed near, but a lot of them are placed in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, because it's not just an English teaching program, it's also like a cultural exchange program. However, with Interact, it's just, you know, they really like advertising that, hey, you live in a bigger city, which is great, but you have pay reductions. So pick your poison, right? Which one do you prefer? Then there's obviously other smaller companies. I'm not going to name them right off the bat because honestly, they're small and I can't remember them. But there's a lot of good, helpful websites to go to. If you don't know gaijinpot.com, there's a lot of job listings. You can specify the area you want to live in Japan. You can specify that you're an overseas applicant and see what jobs are willing to accept you. So it's definitely the route to go. Now usually if you don't have a technical skill, meaning like programming or high-level Japanese, then you will be coming here and you'll teach English first, at least initially. Just something to keep in mind. Most places they offer you a visa, but you know, if they don't, usually the pay is less. So it is unfortunate, but since you're coming at a disadvantage and need a visa, usually the places that offer visas, they also offer a reduction in pay. Not always the case, but sometimes it is, especially in the junior high school level. College level, the university level, no. They do offer you a visa and they offer really good pay, but it's very competitive. So, you know, that's that. Some other websites, they're called Ohayosensei, which is a newsletter, really old Japanese job posting newsletter in English. They've been doing it for something like 20 years or something. They post a new updated page twice a month, usually the 1st and the 15th. I'll also put a link to that down below, and you can check that site out. Between the two sites, you have a pretty good opportunity to find a job in Japan. And then after that, it's simply just coming over, right? And that's a process in itself. Ideally, you set yourself up with JET. You know, they come over because they pay for your flight, and you're guaranteed the job when you come and everything. But if you apply to JET, doesn't work out, then you know there are alternatives. There's Interact or Gaijin Pod, and there's definitely still hope. So I'm gonna go through all this like more in detail in future videos. I just want to give you a rough lowdown about your different possibilities, right? How to get here. The main number one thing that I want to stress is that you just really want to graduate from university or college. You really need that for the work visa. You know, to get a working visa in Japan, you need to have graduated college or university. Without that, you're not going to be able to get one. The only other way would be is if you married a Japanese citizen, then you were to get a spouse visa, and then you could work. But once again, once you apply and they find out that you haven't actually graduated from university, your job prospects are going to be really low. So definitely work on that if you're still a college student, and then start applying. Alright guys, well I hope you found some of this information useful, and if you want more information, just comment questions down below, anything, and I'll get back to you in a day or less, guaranteed. Alright guys, have a good one.